Welcome to Call of the Father. Today I want to talk about intentions of the heart, and I want to relate it to integrity and show why intentions of the heart is much more important, and probably in God's eyes, from everything that I've seen, than integrity. I think God could kind of care less about our integrity. He looks at the intentions of our heart, and I've just seen that over and over. I've seen it come up in the Bible. And I was going to do this subject for the very first episode originally. Didn't work out that way. I think I'm a little more prepared to do it now, and I hope to delineate this difference for you and I hope to make some points that'll really stick with you and hit you where it matters, in the heart. Okay, so this topic, intentions of the heart, I think it just carries a lot of power if we can understand what's behind it. And it's just very near and dear to me. It came up a lot in my healing journey. And I think, I think it's really important to set our intentions. That's one of the first points I want to make. It's important to set our intentions. And I feel like you can't get the results you want without setting your intentions. A lot of people talk about that. But I also feel like even if your knowledge is limited or your understanding of things is limited, if you set intentions and your motives are pure and good, I feel like God's going to honor those. Now you can say God, you can say universe, you can say source. I don't really care what you believe. Plug in what you want. I'm just using God. I kind of believe that there's a God, and I believe in God, and I believe that He's answered a lot of my prayers and shown me a lot of these things through prayer. When I didn't understand things and things came up, I just looked at it hard and I was praying, wanted to understand, and I feel like He gave me understanding in things. Anyway, so we set our intentions, and one of the things I want to point out is, like, when my divorce started, I've mentioned it more than once in this podcast, but when my divorce started, I was kind of in a state of panic, and I was like, shoot, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. So I kind of started to set intentions, or what I've called it before is a mission statement. And it had 3 parts. Part 1 was I wanted to walk through the situation, the whole thing, with my integrity intact. Part 2, I don't want to be bitter. And part 3, I want to heal and grow. And it's just funny, like I see so much in that now. My intentions were good. My motives were pure in that. But there was so much I didn't see. And with the integrity, even the integrity, I just learned a lot about integrity after the fact, and I feel like God honored all of these. He helped me get there in a roundabout way. It took some time, but the integrity aspect, I wanted to feel right. I wanted to feel justified, like I didn't do anything wrong. And a lot of times I think that that's the focus in integrity, is the focus is on being right. And I think that's a little skewed, and I think that we can go the wrong way with that. Yeah, I've talked about that before. Anyway, I've learned so much more about what integrity is and what it isn't, and where I thought I had it and then realized that I didn't. And that was mostly a matter of not being able to consciously see that I had ulterior motives in a secret attachment to the outcome that I hoped for, which was basically to feel right and justified. So, as I already said, I think that my overall intentions were good in this mission statement, but there was a lot of lack of understanding and just lack of maturity in several areas. But I feel that God really honored what was good in those intentions. And so in the end, that part 1, integrity, walking through it with my integrity intact, I don't believe that I walked through the situation with my integrity intact, but the way that God honored me in that, with the intentions behind it, I believe that He showed me that it wasn't integrity, and He showed me the fallacies in integrity, and He showed me how to find the intentions in my own heart and how to judge them, how to kind of find a way, and I'll go into it later in this episode. I'm going to give you some questions to basically decide if your intentions are good or not. But I believe that He taught me how to do that. The second part, the not being bitter, man, I've talked about that before, and that was not a linear absolute. I was very bitter for a little while, but I had the intentions of not wanting to be bitter, and I feel that God just really helped me through that. I feel that He helped me to feel what I needed to feel and validate those feelings so that I could eventually move past them. I didn't want to stay there. In the end, that was kind of a daunting thing. I kind of felt down on myself when I was bitter, when I realized that I was really pissed off. That anger, I got pissed because I was pissed. Like it was a snowballing effect for a little while, and that was hard to deal with. Nobody really likes the feeling of being bitter. I don't believe that. Well, I don't know. I don't believe anybody likes that. Anyway, and then just it was such a big deal. I talked about it recently, the day that I realized I was no longer bitter. It snuck up on me, and I was so emotional. I felt like God showed me that, look, your intentions were good, and you've worked through this, and you've just stayed the course, and now here you are. And He showed it to me all of a sudden, and I didn't realize I was there, and it was such a big moment for me, just a big moment of growth and gratitude. Anyway, and then the third part of that mission statement, the heal, learn, and grow, He helped me all the way through that, and I learned to question everything and everything that I believe in, and I learned to rewrite so many standards and belief systems in my life, and I'm grateful for that. I've grown to appreciate the pain that I went through, and what I saw as one of the worst things that ever happened to me, I now see as one of the best things that ever happened to me. I just think it allowed me to see and address some faulty beliefs, perceptions, and coping mechanisms that I believe never would have healed. I never would have healed them had that not happened to me. And I'm just very grateful for all of that. So I would say now that one of the biggest things I've learned through this, about this subject, is that lying to myself about my intentions is one of the easiest things to do to justify my actions when I know in my heart something about what I'm doing doesn't feel right. See, I believe we're going to feel what the level of the purity in our intentions is in our heart. It's a matter of cognitive dissonance versus ease and peace. So if you're in the middle of a situation and you aren't feeling ease and peace, then you might want to slow down and ask yourself some questions about what your real true intentions are in the situation. See, the problem that I see with focusing on integrity, and even, particularly myself in that situation, my mission statement from my divorce, I was focused on being right, and I didn't necessarily want to. I had some bitterness. I had things that I didn't want to do everything right, but it was more important to me to appear right. That's kind of a narcissistic tendency if you look at it straight. I wanted to appear righteous or justified more than I wanted to do what was right. So I think now is a good time to go into a little bit of definition of integrity and intentions of the heart. So I think everybody's heard the definition of integrity, that it's doing what's right even when no one is looking. You see, it already has a focus, or it mentions whether or not somebody's looking or whether it's seen. Well, I think the implication there is they might notice later whether you did the right thing or not, even if they're not looking right then. So I think there's just still a focus on appearances. I think intentions of the heart, if you have pure intentions in your heart, it doesn't matter if anybody sees or not. Anyway, then another definition of integrity is just a strict adherence to a moral or ethical code. So with that definition, the flavor that I get in my mouth or in my heart over it is that if I don't strictly adhere to this moral or ethical code, then that builds shame. That's something that I'm going to feel shameful about not meeting my own standards. Now, the difference with this intentions of the heart, it leaves more of a feeling of when I realize that my intentions aren't pure, I change my mind, which is what it says over and over in the Bible, the word repent, which has been twisted in our society, that basically in the things I learned in Christianity, it often has a feeling of feeling sorry for doing wrong or feeling guilty and things like that. Originally, the word repent meant specifically to change your mind. Now let's get back to the definition of intentions. I'm just going to use two really simple ones, one word definitions. One is purpose and the other one is earnestness. I like both of those. So basically what we're focused on here is pure intentions or good intentions. Obviously you could have bad intentions, and I think over and over in the Bible, God is always looking at the heart or the intentions of the heart. It said that in a lot of verses that I found, and then there's a story that I'm going to go over in just a moment. But basically, I think that the integrity is focused on being right, and pure intentions and good intentions of the heart is a focus on love. It's closely tied to love consciousness and love vibrations. And I think that's a big deal. That's very important for spirituality, wherever you want to go with that. I think it's a big deal. So with intentions of the heart, you're able to look at the consequences as far as how it might make you feel later and decide not to because you don't want to feel that way. Or you might be thinking about how it might hurt someone else. So pure intentions of the heart are basically tied to love consciousness, or based on love consciousness, which is completely unselfish. And also, I feel like pure intentions of the heart is unattached to an outcome. I want to get into this story from the Bible. I think this is going to kind of drive the point home for you about intentions of the heart and the difference between that and integrity. So the story is about Balaam, and it's in the book of Numbers. Balaam he had the ability to curse or bless people, and whatever he did there, that came true. So then the Israelites, they were camping in the desert in Moab, and the king of Moab was very afraid of them. He was nervous about it. He thought they were going to destroy him. I guess he'd seen what they'd done to other people or something, and he was all nervous about it. So he sent to Balaam, he sent money, bribe money, and messengers to basically get Balaam to come back to him and curse the Israelites. And so Balaam, he says, okay, stay here tonight and I'll inquire of God. And then God came to Balaam and said, no, do not go with them and don't curse the people. And then basically then after that, the messengers went back to Balak, and Balak sent them back again, and they came back with even greater offers of riches. And Balaam, he already knew God's answer. This one really tripped me up when I first read this, I feel like God used this story to teach me this whole thing. When I found this in the Bible, I was reading through it, and it really tripped me up for a little bit. I didn't understand this, and I'll get into why. Balaam already had God's answer, but when they came back the second time with these promises of these big riches, these big bribe money, he said, okay, I can't do anything that God doesn't tell me I can do. Stay here tonight and I'll inquire and see what else God has to say. Well, I feel like he already knew God's answer. So then God told him that night, if they're calling you, then go with them. So in the morning, Balaam got up and he went with them, but then it says that God was angry that he was going, and that really confused me at first. God told him to go. He came back and asked him again, and God told him to go. Why was God angry with him? And I prayed about this, and it took some time to kind of figure out what the deal was here, and then it came to me. Basically, Balaam hoped in his heart, his intentions were, he hoped in his heart to receive the bribe money, and God knew the intentions of his heart. The intentions in his heart were not pure, but he was trying to live on integrity. He was trying, well, if God tells me I can go, then my integrity's good. And so he basically got God to say, okay, go with them. God had a plan the whole time. So he goes with them, and God was angry. God sent an angel to stand in his way, and Balaam's riding his donkey along, and all of a sudden the donkey can see this angel, and Balaam can't, and the donkey keeps going to the side, and Balaam beats the donkey, and then finally God gave the donkey a voice, and the donkey says, why are you beating me? And he goes, well, if I had a sword, I'd kill you. You're making me look stupid, basically. So he cared more about his image at that point. And he said, if I had a sword in my hand, I would have killed you. And the donkey said, how long have I been your donkey? And he's like, basically, I've carried you forever, your whole life, and have I ever acted this way? Balaam said no. And then when he said no, his eyes were opened and he saw the angel. Then the angel asked him why he beat the donkey, and basically he realized his error then. I think he was on notice then, and he realized that he was all wrong. And then the angel told him to still go with them, but only say what God said. Anyway, so that story kind of tells the difference, I believe, between intentions of the heart, which is what God looks at, and what we should be looking at for ourselves for spirituality, for just to be honest with ourselves and to not feel cognitive dissonance in our hearts, and to actually just feel congruent in our heart and in our mind. At this point, I believe I've painted a pretty good picture of intentions of the heart, why God always looks at the intentions of the heart over integrity, why it's more important than integrity, why it's more, I hate to use a word like noble, but maybe it's more noble than integrity even is. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is it is so hard to keep on top of these intentions in my heart. I'm constantly just questioning myself. Going through life, you get in situations and then you realize, oh man, there's just a little bit of something there that's not as pure as it could be, or there's something in different situations where we might have ulterior motives involved. So I came up with 3 questions that I can ask myself. Maybe this will help you too, but the easiest way to ensure that I'm being honest with myself about what my intentions actually are is to consciously ask myself, what do I want to feel? The second question I might ask myself is, what would love do? That's been a big one for me. That that helped a lot in one particular situation. Going through my divorce, I had in my heart, I kind of wanted to lash out in a certain situation, but then I stopped and I asked myself, what would love do? And I came up with the perfect answer. As soon as I asked myself that, it was just there. It was in my heart. And the third question is, do I have secret ulterior motives that may possibly even be a subconscious ego purpose? So if you ask yourself those things, I believe you'll come up with the right answers and be able to set your intentions straight. I hope this helped. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.